Welcome to Silicon Sports Spectator, and today we are in with a very special guest. And in fact, it is our first guest that we've had on this channel. This is something that if you've been tuning in the last few weeks, we've just been doing analysis and chat. You just get to hear my lovely voice, but really my vision for the channel is to eventually bring in friends and other connections, either in the industry or otherwise, who have interesting contributions to share. Today I'm joined by a very dear and longtime friend, my buddy Jake, who I went to college with. We had some great experiences together, but he is my go-to Giants expert. So Jake, welcome to the show. We want to give a little bit of background on your Giants fandom.
Joe, first off, I was going to say first time, long time, but I guess since this is a pretty new podcast, that maybe wouldn't be accurate, but being longtime friends, that is accurate. I got to say that when you started talking about Chico State, I was thinking I needed to like brush up on my beer pong trivia or something like that, versus other sports.
That is the exact nature of this channel, so that's fine.
Yeah. I concede the title to you on the beer pong front.
So hand-eye coordination, I'm not so sure, especially after said amount of beers, but nevertheless.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I brought up today's episode, of course, because we're on the verge of opening day 2025. And as a Giants fan, just a real quick impression, like, how are you feeling about how things turned out last year and going
Yeah.
into this year?
Well, this is an awesome opportunity to get some things off my chest about the
Good.
Giants, I would say.
This is
Um,
therapy. This is what we're here for.
totally. Well, I can say that the last couple of seasons have been pedestrian, hovering around 500, mediocrity. I mean, for me, listening to Giants baseball games on the radio is about as good as it gets in the summer. It becomes sort of like the soundtrack of the summer. And if the
I
Giants
like
are
it.
competitive, that's a bonus. I always say at this point in spring training, as hope springs eternal,
Yes.
that I would, as long as if the Giants are competitive in September, like there's something to play for. They've got a chance in this expanded playoff system and everything. It's becoming more socialist for sure, but beyond that, it gives us a sense of hope as a fandom. Fan base of the Giants that they could make it into the postseason. And as they've shown in years past, if you get in, you got a chance. And I remember, I think in 2014, the Giants only won 88 games in the regular season. And it was Madison Bumgarner on the hill in Pittsburgh. And Brandon Crawford hit a grand slam early in the game and really silenced the crowd. And Mad Bum took care of the rest, and the Giants were on their way to their third World Series championship in 5 years. You just never know. I think Vegas has the Giants winning somewhere around 79 or 80 games this year as the over
Okay.
under.
Yep.
As a as a fan of the team, I'm going to always look at the glass being half full. And the Giants won the Cactus League this year. They had
Yep.
the best record. Does that even matter? I think that's the question. And I think the answer to that comes in the regular season. I mean, if the Giants end up playing well this season, then you can say, yeah, the Cactus League hot start absolutely mattered. But if they tank, then you're going to say, oh, well, it was just preseason, didn't matter at all. The thing that gives we, the Giants faithful, newfound hope is the fact that it's the first year of the Buster Ball era.
Yes,
So
indeed.
Buster Posey in the front office having an opportunity to try to reinvigorate this club and bring back some of that secret formula. I've heard that brought them those championships. I heard Mike Krukow on another media outlet in the Bay Area, let's say. He was talking about how Posey and Bumgarner and all those guys during that era, and in his era it was like Will Clark and Bob Brenly and these names
Yep.
of 1980s Giants when they decided in 86 and 87 that they wanted the opposition to feel them, to feel their presence. So there was this almost intimidation factor that, let's just say this, that there was a confidence with the club. And I've always believed that winning breeds chemistry and not the other way around. But there is something to be said for if it's a healthy clubhouse where the guys are on the same page as to what they want to do that season and they've bought into whatever the philosophy might be. And I think those are two things that are really important when you've got Bob Melvin,
Yep.
getting a chance to be a manager in the Posey era, where it's not going to be all about analytics and computers, but it'll be a blend of using your gut instinct and being able to make real life decisions based upon what your eyes are telling you, as well as what the computer tells you. I think that's going to be a fun thing to watch too.
Yeah, definitely. Did you get to tune into many or any of the spring training games? And if so, were there any particular individuals that stood out to you, performances that stood out?
Yeah, I think Luis Matos had a really great spring. It was fun to watch him. Of course, the Giants' left side of the infield is really strong with the former, let's say, Oakland A's, just for the heck of it.
Yes,
I'm
thank
not
you.
ready to say the
Until
West.
tomorrow.
Yeah, the West Sacramento A's doesn't have quite the same ring to it, but the left side of the infield with Matt Chapman and now with Adames at shortstop. I
Yeah.
think I think those two guys are pretty exciting players. And another thing that I look for is you want to see a lineup that you can count on, and I know that comes along with health. So if the Giants stay healthy, that's going to be helpful for them. But also when you get to the ballpark, you're excited to watch certain players. I mean, whether it was Barry Bonds or before him, my favorite player was Will Clark growing up, and to know that you've got Elio Ramos and Luis Matos and Jung Hoo Lee and Matt Chapman and Willie Adames in the lineup, and all these guys, Fitzpatrick, even a Lamont Wade that gets on base all the time. I mean, these are just players that are showing promise, or have already proven themselves in other places. It is exciting. It's not quite the murder's row of maybe the Dodgers or the Yankees in their heyday or whatever, or even the Yankees of today. But it's still a very athletic ball club that have some dynamic players in the lineup that are a blend of free agent acquisitions and also homegrown talent. And I think that's the key. You can't just go out on the market and buy everybody. You have to have a blend.
Yeah, 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 for sure. What are your thoughts on their rotation? So this is what I think is one of their strengths, at least coming out. Maybe still some question marks. I mean, again, like you don't know what you're going to get with Verlander, for example. But if all things go well, I like the rotation, and I thought it was cool. I think it was just today or yesterday that they announced that Landon Roop earned that fifth spot in the
Yeah.
rotation, which is pretty cool. So because he had a great spring training. Any thoughts on the rotation?
Yes, I think I was hearing Giants broadcaster Dave Fleming talking the other day, and to elaborate on his comments, he was saying that it could be argued that the Giants' AAA pitching staff would rival some big league pitching staffs. They're
Oh
just
wow.
that deep right now, and I like the idea that you've got a Verlander that's been signed to, not only because he believes that he's still got enough in his arm to get major league hitters out, but also being that mentor now is a pretty cool thing. I think he's 42 years old, and I had to Google to see how old Rick Russell was in 1989, because he was his nickname was Big Daddy, and he looked like he was about 55 years old back then. But that's just because he was out of shape and had a sweet mustache. I mean, you got to earn that nickname of Big Daddy. But he was in his late 30s, about 40 years old then, and he had a great year on the mound for the Giants in that World Series run. Of course, they lost to the A's in the Earthquake Series.
Yeah.
But the Giants pitching staff this year with a Logan Webb, who is right on the cusp. Maybe we could even call him a veteran himself now. He's got the grips on the ace of the staff role, and then, like you mentioned, Landon Roop, another guy from North Carolina, like Bumgarner, who's got that edge to him. I heard him give an interview, and he said, I want to be in the starting rotation. I don't want to come out of the bullpen." And he's got more than one pitch that can get major league hitters out, and that's exciting. Kyle Harrison was all the rage, and he just got sent down to AAA. So it just kind of shows you how deep they are. Was it Jordan Hicks? Yeah, he's an
Mhm.
electric arm who uh, kind of ran out of gas last year as he was making that conversion from the bullpen to being a starting pitcher. As the innings got up beyond where he had ever gone before, his arm showed fatigue. Let's see. Hayden Birdsong is another guy that
Right.
is an exciting young arm. I'm not saying that they're Tim Lincecum, Matt Cain, Madison Bumgarner necessarily yet, but there are reasons to be excited about the pitching staff. And then you get into the bullpen, and Camilo Doval is a guy that had a really rough year last year
Mhm.
mentally, and also his performance on the mound physically just wasn't there. He's a guy that's looking really good and could be like that eighth inning setup man. And then it goes to Ryan Walker, who's got some nasty stuff. So there are the pieces there, and I think that I've got rose-colored glasses, as I said. I'm totally biased and all of that, but
That's fine.
I did not have the same level of excitement the last couple of years that I do this year. I think on both sides of the baseball, they they're they're looking pretty good. And I didn't even mention Patrick Bailey behind the plate, the switch hitting catcher that
Oh, yeah.
is a Gold Glove winner. So they're strong up the middle, as they say. That's very important.
Yeah. Well, this is great. Well, and as you know, with my story too, is that I'm a transitioning fan. It's hard for me to, I did wonder, about what I was going to do with my previous fandom of the A's. And just very naturally, I just found that like this off season, I just was not excited about it, any news about them. It was just, and whereas, I went to many more Giants games last year. The company has a partnership with them. So it
Yeah.
was nice to take advantage of that, but I just felt like I had a stronger connection to that. And yeah, it was easy for me to want to adopt them. And they were always kind of my second team, but I don't know, losing the A's was painful. But at the same time, I'm excited to see where the Giants to fill that hole in my heart.
Yeah, I can say that thinking about the A's playing in West Sacramento,
Hmm.
I always
Yes,
want to add the
nice.
qualifier that's technically West Sacramento. So the idea that we have it's still they have a chance that they could have a great season. I mean, just for fun, could you imagine if the A's pulled off that miracle and they were in the World Series? Like,
Oh my gosh.
would Major League Baseball allow them to host the World Series in that AAA ballpark? And I was talking to my dad, who's, these things are generational, right? So my dad raised me a Giants fan. And so I was mentioning to him the other day, I go, did you realize that in 1962, when the Giants and the Yankees were in the World Series, that California got just doused with incredible rain in October, so they actually had to push the pause button on the World Series for a while so that the storms could go through and the fields would be playable. So the Yankees and the Giants actually practiced in Modesto. And I think that's kind of wild. Like, I've seen pictures of kids holding, their dads holding up on their shoulders to look over the fence to get some kind of a view of Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris and Willie Mays and Willie McCovey. And I just think about the population of Modesto in 1962, and I'm guessing it was probably 30,000 people or something like that. So just to think that the Yankees and the Giants came to my hometown if I'm in Modesto, that's just a wild thought. So anyway,
Yeah.
I think it's a cool opportunity. I know Sacramento is a much larger place than Modesto is, our state capital, and all of that. But a chance to have an intimate Major League Baseball experience is going to be a cool opportunity for a lot of fans, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm happy for Sacramento in that regard. Like, I'm glad that they were able to capitalize on. And frankly, I don't have a lot of confidence in this Las Vegas deal, and I'm hoping that Sacramento can benefit from that and possibly either keep the A's a longer period of time or maybe even bid for, hey, this Vegas deal is going to collapse, and we're here. We've proven that we have a fan base and all that. So I'm excited for them in that regard. You did
Yeah.
mention Modesto, and I don't know if we have any Modesto fans tuning in, but just talk about another town here that just this last year, I think it is their last year this year with the Modesto Nuts leaving town. Franchise that's been there for a long time, and they couldn't get a new stadium deal, and so that minor league team that was so well supported there is no longer going to be. I think
Yeah.
this is their last year. Anyways, as someone who's going through that right now, I definitely sympathize.
I saw that actually in the Giants organization too, the Eugene Emeralds, which are, I think they're a single A team of the Giants. They also are struggling with a stadium deal,
It's tough.
and
Yeah.
it's been 70 something years of the Emeralds there, the M's in Eugene, Oregon. So that's a rough deal for that community as well. The business of baseball.
I tell you, another episode perhaps.
Yes.
Well, quick. I know we don't have too much time here with you, but maybe two things. First of all, give me a quick prediction. Where do you think the Giants end up at the end of the season?
Well, barring lightning in a bottle like 2021 when they won 107 games and beat the Dodgers by a game, I do see the dogfight that the NL West is going to be. I mean, you put Colorado to the side and you think about the other four teams, and you got Dodgers, Padres, Giants, and D-backs, and all of them. I mean, the D-backs are only like what 2 years removed from World Series
Yeah,
appearance, so it's going to be a tough division. All of that said, again, just my thought is realistically, they have a shot at a wild card
yeah, okay,
appearance. If their goal, of course, publicly is they're going to say our goal is to win the division, and as a fan, you want to hear that, and they probably believe that in the clubhouse. And it's hard to get back to the World Series if you're the Dodgers. A lot of things have to go right and fall into place. So I think that's probably the same for most teams. But I see the Giants with my heart finishing in second place in the NL West and getting one of those wild card spots. And then with the rotation that we discussed, and I didn't mention all of them. I'm sure I missed somebody in there, but they've got a chance to make some noise in the playoffs if they get in.
yeah, love it. And maybe just here as we wrap up, just you mentioned just some things that for nostalgia's sake, Will Clark being one of your favorite players,
Yeah.
just I know too you've also had a history working with the media and a lot of cool experiences with the Giants organization or just as a fan being there. Any special memories or favorite memory that you
Yeah.
want to share here?
Yes. I'm gonna share the one that includes you. So
Okay.
the day that Dusty Baker came to Chico, and
Yeah.
we had an opportunity to meet him when I was working for the local ABC affiliate in Chico. And Dusty was in town because one of his mentors or teachers was also an athletic director at Butte College, where Aaron Rodgers went. Anyway, Dusty was at the Sierra Nevada Brewery, and he walked by all these guys from larger markets in suits, and he came right over to us, and we're just dressed up like college kids because we were. And he said, "Hey, what's up, fellas? What can I do for you?" And we started talking about the Giants, and he talked about Chico being Giants country and everything. And I had some high school football games to cover that night, and I said, "Well, I'll see you tomorrow at Butte College when you have your speaking engagement there at the gym in front of the people in the community there." And so he said, "Okay, that's great." And anyway, went out and covered some games, and then I saw him the next day, and of course he came over and he was his Dusty Baker personable self, and he said, "I saw Los Plumas beat Oroville last night," and so he was following the high school gridiron. And then what really blew me away was like 3 weeks later, I'm at a Giants Dodgers game with a mutual friend of ours, and Dusty had a chance to meet him, and they talked about how. That this guy Gabe from
Yep.
Bakersfield, who's actually from Buttonwillow, and
Yep.
Dusty's like knows where Buttonwillow is and went hunting, and
Yep. I
uh,
remember that story.
the rose bushes of Wasco and everything. So he sees me on the field before the game, and he goes, "Hey dude, how's it going? How's the weather up in Chico?" And then he goes, "How's your friend from Bakersfield?" And I go, "Well, he's actually with me right now, and he was over in the Giants dugout." And he goes, "Well, bring him over." And so it was like me and Gabe and Dusty, Kruk and Kipe, the Giants broadcasters, and my memory says it was Bonds hitting batting practice. And so it felt a lot longer than it was, but it was probably like a 2-minute conversation. And he said, "Okay, fellas, I got to go to work." And we shook his hand. And the Giants beat the Dodgers that day, which was great for me and enjoyed that a lot. But it's just a reminder of that skill set too, of being able to be mindful and not just give people your time, but give them your attention too. And I think that's why Dusty has been so beloved by people across baseball across the country, because he makes those connections. So I've appreciated that a lot. And this is a guy who played for the Dodgers as well as the Giants. And yet I think so highly of that guy. Anyway,
Wonderful story. Yeah. No, thanks
that's
for
probably my
recapping that.
favorite one. We've got other ones that we could maybe talk about if you'll have me on another time.
Of course. We'll see how the ratings go. No, okay. No, great. I really appreciate your time and great. Yeah, and we got 162 games to cover. Not that we'll talk everyone, but I know that we'll have a lot more stories throughout the season. If things go bad, we'll focus on nostalgia. If things are going well, we'll talk about how good the team is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
sounds good. I thanks for reaching out and having me on. I love listening to the podcast. It's a lot of
awesome.
fun.
Awesome. Well, also spread the word amongst your friends. And for the rest of you, I'm Joe. And on the behalf of Jake, thank you so much for tuning into our first interview. Many more of these to come in the future. Go Giants.